Welcome to FUS Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is fusunitarian.org. I'm David Breeden, Senior Minister. Welcome. FUS Unitarian Society is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. We're so glad you're here on this kind of rainy morning, Sunday, April 7th of 2024. Our programming is on site here. It's also online 24/7, and we stream this assembly in the mornings. My name is David Breeden. I'm the senior minister here. I'm joined today by our music director, Mike Vosich, way over there, yeah. Keyboardist, Amos Lucchini. Glad you're here. Violinist today, Zack Kline. Welcome. Yay. And the FUS Chalice Choir. Yeah. As always, we must thank our AV crew, Jacob Mullis, our media content coordinator, and a cast of wonderful volunteers. Wherever you are, if you will turn to your right or left this morning and say, "I'm so glad you're here today." I'm so glad y'all are here today. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone, to this historic congregational humanist community where we continue to be at the cutting edge of liberal religion, where we attempt to live up to humanity's highest goals and highest ideals. We do fail, but we always try again. Thank you so much for being with us today. Take it away, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you for being here on a sort of dreary day. But hey, spring's here. It's not snowing. We're going to make it. We have a few pieces of music today, but I wanted to take a quick moment to just make an announcement to promote next Sunday. We have a Music Sunday coming up, and it's going to be pretty special. We have a very large group coming in that is full of some really top players in the city. It's a group called Champagne Confetti, and it's going to be an entire morning of their music. Abby Wolf is the band leader. She's a local, wonderful composer, singer. Eric Mason's in the group, some really excellent string players, and our interim music director, Ted Olson, is also in the group, and Jacob Mullis is in the group, and it's going to be a really special morning. So if you can make it, it's about, 12, 14 musicians, something like that? 12. So it's a 12-piece. It's going to be a whole morning of really nice music. And also, Rev Kelly brought in a group called I'm Glad You Stayed Project, which is about teen suicide prevention, who's also coming in next weekend, and they're going to also have a presentation as well, since they're here for the weekend. So don't miss next Sunday. It's free as always, and will be a really nice morning of music. Don't miss it. Okay, and then also at the end of the month, for our Oregon fans out there, we're going to have a special afternoon of music on a Saturday. So Saturday, April 27th, we have David Jenkins, organist, and Christopher Cation from St. Thomas, classical guitarist, are going to present a concert here at 1 p.m. Saturday, April 27th. And I believe Rev David Breeden is also going to be presenting some poetry on that. We're going to do some jazz poetry in there too, so watch out. A little something for everybody. It's going to be really nice. We're going to get that organ tuned up for the event, and so a little extra music event, April 27th, 1 p.m. right here. Okay, that's out in the future. Today, we have two choral selections here. We're going to start with a piece by the composer Ruth Morris Gray, who we've done a couple pieces by recently. Text is by Emily Dickinson, and it's called I Shall Not Live in Vain. This month is about interconnectedness, and so we're trying to find our meaning and helping each other out and finding ways to lift each other up, to give ourselves meaning. And then also at the end, we're going to be doing a pretty fun piece called Connected, which really hits the theme of this month, almost too much on the nose, but that's okay. This text features, it's by a composer named Brian Tate, who's Canadian, a really good choral writer, and it features the text, I am you, you are me, we're the same subatomically, I think, which, hey, that really was screaming first Unitarian to me. So we're doing that one. You might even feel so moved to clap along at that one, and we won't stop you. So that's at the end. But right now we're going to be doing. Oh, and yes, Zack Kline is here to play violin with us as well. In the middle of the service, we'll be doing a piece that Zack wrote called "Energy Fields." Zack is my bandmate from Orange Mighty Trio and a good friend for many, many years. So thanks for being here, Zack. And he's going to play with us on this opening piece. I shall not live in vain. Thank you.
Each week when we gather, we light our chalice and we speak some of our words, either one of the 8 UU propositions or one of our own aspirations. This week we're going to use our own aspiration number 1. We aspire to live joyfully and ethically in loving, reverent relationship with humanity and nature. Take it away, Mike.
So we have a congregational song here coming up. It's going to be number 163 in the Gray Songbook, but also the text should be coming up on here on the screen in a moment. There we go. So for the earth forever turning.
If you will stand as you're willing and able.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
I feel fast. Up here. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. Oh, you stay here. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to have you stand up in a minute. All right. First Unitarian Society is a Congregational Humanist community, as I said, and we are here for each other, for our community, and for the planet. When we gather on Sundays, we take a few moments to reflect on the human experience, the joys, the sorrows, and the milestones. We do this so that we may stay in touch with our own humanity and remind ourselves of the moments of stillness in our world. We've got a joy today. Larry Gottschalk, please stand up. As I said, anybody who's had a heart surgery this past week, you can sit up here anytime you want as well. But Larry is the last of 600 patients in a study of a clip device developed in Denmark for the heart treatment that he got. On this completion of the study, the FDA announced formal approval of the procedure for general public use. And how about that? Thanks for being a good lab. And there you go. All right. By the way, downstairs we will have a card basket. You can send a card to Larry or some of the folks who were not able to be here. You can even hand it to you. How about that? That's amazing. I tell you, I had a tooth pulled and I was down for several days. Now we take a few moments of silence to reflect on those in our world who work to comfort the suffering, work for justice, and to comfort the suffering. Beautiful, beautiful. I've titled my talk today, Living into Interdependence, by which I mean that none of us is, in actual fact, independent. Human beings are socially and emotionally dependent creatures. The question I want to explore today is this: what if we think of self-creation as co-creation? Not because that thought is weird and out there in left field, but rather co-creation of self is how our reality works. So, why is it that in our culture, rugged individualism is so prized and praised when it's not the fact of our existence? Somehow, American culture sustains and encourages an individualistic self-concept, ignoring the complex web of relationships that in fact define our existence. As we know, loneliness is a major health concern in this country today. Let's consider understanding ourselves not merely as individuals, but as relational beings, deeply interconnected with the people and the world around us. I want to start in a bit of an odd place, though I hope it will make sense as we go along. As I see it, exploring relational being and living into interdependence begins with a very common human feeling, and that's awkwardness. Can a human being be awkward alone? You can remember awkwardness alone. A lot of us ruminate on that, but can you actually do something awkward alone? I don't mean remembering. Now, I also don't mean people who choose to stand out. If you want to wear a chicken suit, it's awkward, but go right ahead. We can feel happy and sad by ourselves. Those are basic emotions. But awkwardness, it's not exactly an emotion, is it? It's more of a, what, feeling? I don't know. I mean, really awkward. I know this is not a great picture, but these dolls say it all, I think. What are we feeling when we feel awkward? Now, awkwardness, I think, is social then. It happens when we say or do something that we suddenly realize is outside of social norms. We've misread some kind of social cue or acted in a way that lies outside the socially acceptable. We miss something. These are the situations that introverts, like me, attempt to avoid at all costs. My wife has to talk me into going places, right? Yet, and I'm talking about myself here, awkward situations are opportunities for growth. I mean, that's what I tell myself when I say, okay, I'll go. Awkwardness challenges us to practice empathy, improve our communication skills, and navigate the complexities of human relationships. By approaching these moments with a mindset of learning and connection, relationality, we can transform discomfort into learning and understanding both a little more about ourselves and more about others. The bottom line is that we don't want other people perceiving us in some way that we find objectionable or they find objectionable. It's about recognizing the value of every interaction as a piece of the puzzle that is our shared human experience together. It teaches us that growth, learning, and connection come from the most unexpected interactions and places, and that by embracing our interconnectedness, we open ourselves to a richer, more empathetic understanding of our own lives and of life itself. Awkward situations can tell us how our subjective thoughts can be wrong, or at least out of the norm in some situations. We can learn something. The feeling of awkwardness is telling us that we need to learn something. It's whispering. Which brings us to the question of how we acquire knowledge, the old nature and nurture question. An important theory which still affects European cultures and the many colonies that European nations colonized, like the United States, is the concept of the tabula rasa, the blank slate. That's the blank slate theory, which claims that the human mind is blank at birth and is written on by social circumstances, our upbringing, our education, our interactions. In this scenario, the human mind is written on during a person's lifetime, and at the end, I guess, we're suddenly products of our entire lives. Yay. In this scenario, as I discussed last week, the human mind needs a data dump. Dump all the data of information in for a JD, and you have a lawyer. Dump in all the information for an MD, and you have a physician. Dump in all the knowledge of a pastry cook, and you get a pastry cook. Now, this 19th century industrial model of education is the basis still for most education in the United States. It's the logic behind book burning. Ban books that contain ideas that are socially unacceptable, and by golly, the outcome will be good, clean, healthy, Christian, socially responsible adults. That's the theory. If you want your kids to be certain kinds of Christians, you put them into a certain kind of Christian school, or you educate them in your good Christian home, and they'll turn out good Christians. The only downside to this tabula rasa concept is it clearly isn't true. That's why we're working hard here at FUS Unitarian Society to change the way we do education. Nurture, yes, but nature is involved as well. Now, how did research finally discover this? The trolley problem. There are 3 basic scenarios and dozens of variations. In the slide, the choice is between killing one person, all right, over there, or what, 6 people. Which would you choose if you're the person at the switch? All right, that's one question to do. These problems have been given to people all over the world. Now, some people don't know what trolleys are, so you have to adapt them to different social circumstances. But the interesting thing about this, when you start doing it, is you discover, it has been discovered, that most human beings in our world make the same choices. So there's some kind of universal morality back there. Worldwide, most human beings see this as a clear choice. You would sacrifice one person to save the others. If you don't feel that way, that's okay. That's outside the norm, but most people in the world think this. All right? There's no right or wrong, and that's, as we'll get to, that's not the point of this. It is that most people choose particular ways of doing it, and then we want to say, why? Why do people all over the world do this? All right. In the second scenario, a trolley is hurtling down the switch, and you're on the tracks. What do? Do you shoot the person who's about to switch it and therefore save yourself and kill 6 other people? Something to think about, right? So, kill one to save yourself or a number of people. As you know, this situation is now a reality with self-driving cars. They have to be programmed to make one of those decisions, and people are a little bit afraid to buy cars that will kill them in certain circumstances. In the third scenario, a patient comes into a hospital with a minor illness. Let's say sore throat. As a physician is meeting with the ill patient, suddenly the doctor remembers that there are 5 people in the hospital dying in need of organ transplants. Does the physician kill the patient with a sore throat in order to save 5 people? Most people in the world say that would be morally wrong. It would be murder. Now, that's the trolley problem's point is, why do we think that? Why is killing one person in the first trolley scenario preferable to killing 5, when in this other scenario, we think it's murder if you kill 1 to save 5? Why is that? And remember, we're talking about people raised in all sorts of religions, all sorts of social situations all over the planet, and the majority agree with each other. Researchers keep questioning people, meet various explanations or excuses. Under such questioning and reasoning, most people eventually will say, I don't know. I just know it's wrong. Somehow, it is human intuition. You can even, if you're so inclined, buy the board game, Trial by Trolley, a party game of moral dilemmas and murder. In this situation, in the cover, we decide between killing 2 healthy elderly people and 1 kid with an annoying hat on. Which do you do? And also, you can buy the R-rated version. I have no idea what trolleys hit in this example, but you can get it if you really wish to. Where does this nearly universal set of moral beliefs come from? It's not from particular religions. People with any sort of religion and no sort of religion agree on the morality of the scenarios. It isn't culture either. People from all cultures, by and large, agree with each other. But where does this moral intuition that almost everybody has, where does it come from? Without knowing anything about the trolley problem, the 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant wrote this in 1788. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe. The more often and steadily we reflect upon them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Now do notice that Kant is talking about the royal we and me, not everybody in the world, okay? But good German moralists would agree with him, right? They have a moral something in there somewhere. I do not seek or conjecture either of them as if they were veiled obscurities or extravagances beyond the horizon of my vision. I see them before me and connect them immediately with the consciousness of my existence. The consciousness of my existence. The fact that I know I'm alive tells me these moral intuitions. Now, in this context, Kant used the term transcendental, the structures of cognition that precede them and make possible the human experience of the world. That's actually what transcendentalism means. Most people don't know that. But the transcendentalists that we know, they had learned it from Germany. This is where the term transcendental does come from, and it still is where the actual transcendentalists would be. It's used to describe the way human beings imaginatively, creatively, intuitionally make decisions about what is moral and ethical in our world. That's more or less where the matter remained until the late 20th century. No one had a real answer to where this moral law within me, intuition, comes from. How does it get there? After the idea of natural selection, Darwin came along, generally known, we had some clues. Okay, evolution must be doing something about this. It's obviously not culture or religion. There has to be something in our evolutionary lives that have done this. Enter the British philosopher Philippa Foot. Most people haven't heard of her in this country, but she's one of my philosophy heroes. She died back in 2010. One thing she constantly insisted upon is that human thought must be as complex as reality. Now think of that a moment. It was a very bold thing to say. Our ethical decisions must be as complicated as the reality in which we live. In other words, God says doesn't work, right? Either or, black and white, doesn't work. The common answer, of course, when we ask people is, my religion says so. I'm a good churchgoer, therefore I believe this. But that's not adequate. And Philippa Foot realized that problem. Those answers are just simply not complex enough to reflect our world. And so Philippa created the trolley problem. And now that idea has spread around the planet, and yeah, it's even a party game you can pick up. The starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. That moral law exists in the minds of almost everybody, and Philippa Foot decides to try to figure out how to get there. I will encourage anyone interested in philosophy and women's history to check out a recent book by Benjamin J.B. Lipscomb titled The Women Are Up to Something. How Elizabeth Anscombe, Philippa Foot, Mary Midgley, and Iris Murdoch revolutionized ethics. Now, it's pretty amazing that the first 4 women allowed into Oxford University changed philosophy forever. These women made up kind of awkward things around Oxford University when they were finally let in. You see Philippa there saying, you ask a philosopher a question, and after he or she has talked for a bit, you don't understand your question anymore. Here in the U.S., some people know the philosophical or novelistic writing of Iris Murdoch, the most colorful, by far, of the 4 philosophers, all of whom met as grad students at Oxford University during the Second World War, remembering that Great Britain was in the war a couple of years before the United States. As Murdoch wrote, and again, we are going to have women reflecting on these things, philosophy, empty thinking by ignorant, conceited men who think they can digest without eating. How do you really feel about that, Iris? Talk about awkward. They were making... Now, they were among the first women to do graduate work at Oxford University. They were allowed in because most of the young men and many of the professors were in the war, in a way. At that time, only one of the many colleges of Oxford, it's not like the U.S. where it's just one university, it's a whole bunch of colleges in the city. Only one school had a women's restroom at that time. And they're spread all over the city, right? So that was awkward. The prejudices of the time, which, as we unfortunately know still exist, the prejudices of the time had men asking why these women weren't married, taking care of a house, and having babies, like they should have been. Women couldn't think abstract thoughts. They couldn't do philosophy or science. All women do are talk about relationships, and they gossip all the time. The women used this prejudice, claiming that, yes, they were in fact closer to the real than were these guys who were getting fed and their rooms cleaned by other people. Yeah, we do understand a little more about reality, they were saying. We understand the real world better. Given the chance, these four women dominated philosophy for the rest of the 20th century in Great Britain. Elizabeth Anscombe, for example, became the literary executor of her teacher, Ludwig Wittgenstein, and she translated him into English. But he was her teacher, and she's still considered the authoritative translator of Wittgenstein into English. And yeah, she wrote such books as From Parmenides, one of the first philosophers, to Wittgenstein. That's how comprehensive her thinking was. Mary Midgley became the leading philosopher in the contemporary animal rights movement. Less well known in this country is her book, Refuting the Selfish Gene, by Richard Dawkins. In this book, Dawkins argued that genes are the actual drivers of human behavior. Given the beginning assumption of all four of these philosophers, that the basic instinct of humanity is relationality, Midgley refuted Dawkins in her book, The Solitary Self, Darwin and the Selfish Gene. She writes, the notable thing about Dawkins' story here is not its atheism, she was an atheist as well, but its fatalism. The drama that it presents is helpless humans enslaved by a callous fate figure is, of course, not new, and like all such myths, it conveys not just meaninglessness, but a positive, sinister meaning, the presence of an active oppressor. Are we oppressed by our own genes? She says, absolutely not. The Dawkins book, which appealed to the idea of the alpha male, became a bestseller in the United States. Midgley's book did not. She gets her revenge, however, because nowadays most European and American philosophers start from Midgley's assumptions, not those of Dawkins. Darwin's idea does not lead to the idea of an alpha male, but to relationality. We humans evolved as social creatures, and that must be the start for any consideration of ethics. Immanuel Kant and the male philosophers who followed him had in their hubris made a fundamental mistake, she claimed. We humans are not solitary selves. We are relational creatures. We are not like the lone wolves in the forests. We are like bees or ants, cooperating to survive. Our identity, our sense of self, our very essence is co-created through our intentions and interactions with others. We are inherently social creatures, and our development, well-being, and existence is intrinsically linked to engagement with other human beings. As Martin Luther King called it, we are in mutuality. A society that listens to the experience of everyone, women of all colors and ages, men of all colors and ages, non-binary people of all colors and ages, non-human animals. Even as Philippa Foot insisted, the society that listens and understands plants will eventually begin to understand our relationality with all things, and we will learn our ethics and freedom from those interactions. Our awkwardness is here to teach us that our first question must always be, what do all people, indeed all things in our existence, what do we all need to flourish and survive? That's the first question, she says. The women were up to something. They were attempting to teach us all that until we get it right with the relationality with all beings, until we get there, we have not achieved an ethical way of being human. Self-creation is co-creation. Thank you. Please rise as you're able, and we'll get the choir back up here, and we'll look at 1021. That's in the teal book, but we will have the words up here.
Hello. I'm Carl. You might know me from helping out around here in the kitchen, teaching OWL on the board of the FUS Foundation, and the Seasonal Celebrations Committee.
Yeah.
So, a lot of hats. So, First Unitarian Society is a free, independent, self-governing congregation. This congregation brings our message of justice and hope to the world and is due to the generosity of our members in time, talent, and treasure. The easiest way to give is to scan this QR code. Yay! Yeah. Which will take you to our giving page. You will find several ways to contribute to the mission of the First Unitarian Society. And of course, for those of you in the building or who wish to give cash or checks, you can stop by the office. Thank you for making the work of First Unitarian Society possible.
All right. Thanks, Carl. Going for the Volunteer of the Year award, no doubt, and you know the door prize for that is amazing. After assembly today, those in our building can enjoy conversation and a mini meal. Today not cooked by Carl, but I bet you were here baking yesterday. I bet. Today, our wonderful mini meal cook volunteers have made crunchy cornflake crusted chicken with mustard sauce, rosemary roasted potatoes, broccoli with lemon beurre blanc. I love it when I say these things and say beurre blanc. It was to do that one. Carrot raisin salad with balsamic herb vinaigrette and mixed greens and spring vegetable salad. And yes, cheddar beer bread. There you go. Head downstairs if you're in the building. You may have heard that it is a presidential election year. At noon today, join in discussion led by Jenna Hutchinson about how you can have an impact this year, especially in battleground states. Learn about You the Vote and recommended actions from them. Learn how to sign yourself up with Vote Forward for letter writing or reclaim the vote for postcard writing at home to get out the vote, or join monthly letter writing activities that we will have here with other members. So join in and learn all about that today at noon. Speaking of taking action, stop by the Active Voices table downstairs as you're going by today with the mini meal. Today our causes are justly return land to the White Earth Nation and also improve e-waste recycling here in Minnesota. Also, at 12:15 today, meet up in the front entry by this entrance over here on your left, and you will get a building tour. Over the last 70 years, this building has had a lot of interesting history going on, and the best person to tell you about that are Bruce Nelson. He knows where all of the skeletons and the hidden stairways are. Join him at 12:15 at Mount Curve entrance. And there will be more later, but if you can't make this one, but it is great to learn all about this interesting building. And to keep up with everything going on at FUS, sign up for a Friday update. That's the best way to keep up with what we are doing. If we will now join in the extinguishing the chalice words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me.
You're over there.
That's what I said.
Something between us is greater than ever.
Don't you see?
I won't let
you are me.
You're over there.
That's are me. It's a fact, so let's learn it.
It seems like I
I am you. You are me. It's a fact, so let's learn it.
It seems like
I am a part of you. You are a part of me. And so together we are one body. I am inside your head. You are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see?
seems like
I
I'm
am,
over here.
you
I'm
are
over
me.
and you're over there.
That's what I said.
There's something between us, between us and there. It seems like I'm over here. I'm over and you're over there. There's something between us, between us and there. It seems like I'm over here and you're over there. There's something between us, so let's turn and you. It seems like I'm over here and you're over there. There's something between us, so let's turn and you. It seems like
I am a part of you. You are a part of me. And so together we are one body. I am inside your head. You are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start.
I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body.
I am inside your head. You are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am a part of you. You are a part of me. And so together we are one body. I am inside your head. You are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start.
Go out into the world. Be fearless. Ask questions. Hold on to what is good. Strengthen the weak. Comfort the fearful. Serve the suffering. Do what makes you come alive. Because, as the great Howard Thurman said, what this world needs is more people who have come alive. Rejoice in the power of the human spirit. So may it be.